I'd like to welcome you to our first meeting and the first Thursday of the month over here at Marion Manor. I want to apologize that we will not have the BBDA audit tonight. So Senator DeSteph, is going to be here to speak, and the mayor is here to speak.
Oh my God, do I really need this thing? I'm from New Jersey. Oh, thank you. But listen, I just wanted to stop by to honor you and also give you my sincere thanks, for helping me and entrusting me to be your representative in the city of Virginia Beach. This was not a me thing, this was a we thing. This was Joe Sixpack and his family coming together. There were people that were volunteers that worked the polls, including many of the people in this room. It included police, fire, and my personal physician, Dr. Karen Hart, shameless plug, worked the poll for me. And, I tell you what, people say, how does it feel? The one word is humbling, because so many people, Leslie was standing out on Virginia Beach Boulevard with my sign and dancing. What a magic coat. But the one thing I think me, I'm not a stranger to you at all, and I will never be a stranger to you. I made a couple promises going in. Over the last couple of weeks, I had meet the mayor, meet and greet at every district in the city of Virginia Beach. That was accomplished. Another thing we're doing, we're arranging for public hearings, input sessions before we go to council retreat. It's a start. And we're going to work to change the culture, and it's going to be a culture of inclusion, and it's going to be a culture of civility, and it's going to be about bringing people to the table to do the right thing, to make the right decisions. So just let me say, a point of personal privilege, thank you, God bless you. And I won't make you happy 100% of the time, but we're going to do the right thing for the right reasons, and we're going to make some positive changes in this town. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
I'd also like to recognize a couple of our elected officials in the audience. I've seen Councilwoman Sabrina Wooten. Would you like to just say hi? Stand up, everybody to see you. And our newly elected Laura Hughes. Virginia Dyer Soil and Water Conservation Director. Who did really well, by the way. Okay. So now, Dan Edwards, also school board member Dan Edwards, I see you. Is there any other elected officials in the audience I fail to recognize? All right, and we have our former chair, Kenny Golden. And we have the chair of the Libertarian Party. We have Robert Dean. And the 912 coordinator, Tom Bealey. Okay, so now a lot of you might know Senator Bill DeSteph. He started out as a councilman over here in our city of Virginia Beach, and then he went on to become a delegate in General Assembly. He is now our senator, and he's going to be speaking on what is going on with the General Assembly, which convenes next week. Thank you for coming, Bill.
Can you hear me this way with it here? Yeah, good enough. So, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. If I sound like I'm stammering or stumbling, I got up at 4 this morning, was leaving at 4:30 for Richmond, so I'm not drunk. I'm just tired and exhausted. So, where do we want to start? So, let's talk for a minute about all this budget surplus we have. The governor, we have a budget surplus of $1.2 billion. The governor has provided a budget with $2.4 billion in it. So whatever our surplus is, double it, that's where we are. I really don't think that's a great idea to do that. We expanded Medicaid against my vote and against my will last year. Of the 18 budget amendments that were presented on the floor, 14 of them were written by me and 10 of them were presented by me. That was, I believe I was the only one that read the budget cover to cover. I sent it around to multiple people. Robert sent it around to multiple people as well. But I sent it around to multiple people. I stayed up literally all night long with my computer, reading the budget, typing up my questions. I had 21 pages of single-space questions, and they weren't just questions. They were like, this conflicts with this, and the numbers don't add up. So the numbers have to add up, or we have an issue. So of the 21 pages of problems or questions I had on the budget, over 11 pages, single-spaced, typed in 12-point font, were problems with the budget where it didn't add up or there was conflicts with another section of the budget. One of the other things I did while I was going through it, I decided to determine on things that I thought were a little strange or odd, researching whose district they were in. We refer to those as pork or plus-ups. So I figured out whose district and who was behind almost every one of them. We had right over $400 million of plus-ups in the budget for pork. And I could tell you down to whether it was a school that got $200,000 for a horse program, or it was $1.6 million for an instant replay booth at one of our colleges. I could tell you who was responsible for every budget plus-up. And I challenged everybody on every one of those budget plus-ups. I voted against the budget. This was the first time I voted against the budget since I've been in the General Assembly. I've always thought we provided a responsible budget forward, and we did originally in this. And then Emmett Hanger decided he was going to work with the governor and Chris Jones and do their own budget. I disagreed with it. They expanded Medicaid, and I was very disappointed with the way they did that. I believe if we're going to expand Medicaid, we do it the right way. So you're looking at me saying, what are you talking about? What is the right way? Well, the right way is taking care of our intellectually disabled and our developmentally disabled who have been on the waiting list for, 1 to 15, 20 years. Take care of those who can't take care of themselves. Expand it there, and then if you have money left over, look at addressing it with other individuals. But don't just expand it for everybody else. It's like the Air Force. How many of you guys are familiar with the Air Force? When the Air Force builds a base, what do they build first? The golf course, the shower hall, the housing, everything else. What did they build last? They run out of money and they say, we ran out of money and we forgot to build the runway. Okay, that's how we expanded Medicaid. That's a quick analogy on how we expanded Medicaid. You've seen in the paper where they said, hey, we're off by $200 million shortfall in Medicaid, $400 million shortfall in Medicaid. It's been all over the map. I did the math. I believe it's close to $624 million is our shortfall. So look at $1.2 million. You've got a $624 million shortfall on just Medicaid expansion. Now think about the tax cut. Everybody's received a tax cut. Most people have received a tax cut. I actually did not. I actually paid almost 6% more in taxes last year. So it didn't help me, but it helped a lot of other people and a lot of people that work for me. If we give the money back to the citizens, and we have what we call, like on the federal side, we have your standard deduction increase to, I believe it was about $12,000 per person. And if there's somebody in here and I'm off, just correct me real quick. So the state is at, I believe, $4,000 or $6,000 now. If we match what the federal is, it'll cost us about $440 million. So right there, just with those two, you're at $1.1 billion of a $1.2 billion surplus, right? In a responsible time, if we had responsible leaders, that would be your budget surplus, and we would give that $440 million back. We would give, and then after that, you'd have about $120 million left over. With that $120 million, you could say, okay, here's our surplus. What should we do with it, Mr. Taxpayer? We should give it back to the taxpayers who paid it in. If you look at some of the proposals our governor has, if you didn't pay any taxes at all, you have an earned income tax credit, you paid nothing in, The governor wants to take that $440 million and give it back to you who didn't pay taxes. So I really disagree with that. A tax refund is what? It's a refund of the taxes you have paid. It's not giving you something free that you didn't pay in. So that's kind of where I am on that. Legislation this year, we have a lot of legislation pushing regulation back. We've, since I've been there, we've reduced hundreds of pages of legislation. So hundreds of pages of laws we've reduced down. We've gotten rid of legal term, any lawyers in here, any wannabe lawyers. There's a term, a Latin term called mutandis mutandis. It means if this and this, then this. And it was in our code something like 1,700 times. The Code of Virginia is supposed to be written so the average person can understand it. Okay? It wasn't written that way. We're rewriting it that way. Every year I go through, clarify code, reduce the code, eliminate code, pare things down, push back regulations. If you're charged with a misdemeanor or a felony, if you drive too fast, you can write to have your license or you can write to have your record expunged, right? If you are a contractor, an electrical contractor, and you get cited by DPOR, it stays on your record forever. But one piece of legislation this year is, hey, after 5 years, write a letter and it can be expunged. Let's let people understand where they make a mistake, give them a chance to fix it, and then move forward from there. There's some other touchy legislation we've done. We're doing that, of course, we always do bills that say, hey, if you beat your dog and it doesn't die, today it's a misdemeanor. If you torture or beat a dog, it should be a felony. The dog shouldn't have to die for it to be a felony. So we're going to push that again this year and correct that. We had one, Mike Barnaby's in the back. Mike, you remember the resisting arrest? Before, if Mike was trying to arrest me, he grabbed my arm and I jerked away from him. I wasn't resisting arrest. He kept grabbing my arm and I kept jerking away from him. I'm not resisting arrest until I have the intent to flee. Well, what happened is, what is the intent to flee? Do I take one step? Do I take 3 steps? Or do I say, hey, Mike, wait till I get to the corner, I'll yell, ollie, ollie, oxen free, then you can chase me down. At that point, I'm resisting. Okay? It's putting the logic back into it. It's making sure that our laws are written clearly. What happened on that, that was under an escape and fleeing section of the code. We rewrote the entire, it took me 3 years to get this done. I rewrote the entire section of code, which is 182460, and now escape is under there. So when you charge somebody with 182460, you go down and say, was it an aggressive type escape? Did they assault somebody when they were escaping? Did they just flee? Did they stop themselves from being arrested? What level is it? And then from there, we have the penalties, whether it's a felony or a misdemeanor or how it's going to be handled. But it's all in the right section of code. It took me 3 years to get that one right. 18-460. 18-460. And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a cop, I shouldn't even know this, but I had to memorize it because I had to explain it to judges, and attorneys, and lawyers, and argue it, and debate it, and what's active versus passive resisting. What is your First Amendment right of freedom to protest? And, there's the whole thing. I had to become a quick expert on that in the Supreme Court. Court case, I think, was somebody versus Jackson or Jackson versus the Commonwealth or something like that. I can look that up if you want to send me an email later. Don't quote me on it, but it was something to that effect. Anyways, so that's, those are some of the things we've done. If you look at what I've done, we've been very judicious with your taxes. Every budget that I've supported, we've not had any tax increases in there, except with the exception of, we rewrote the transportation infrastructure one, so the money that is raised in Virginia Beach for Hampton Roads gets spent in Hampton Roads, and we've also put a lot of money into the transportation infrastructure over the next few years, because I believe it's our right to fix that. We should be responsible for our transportation infrastructure. With that, I was going to say I'm only going to talk for 5 or 6 minutes, and I was going to open it up for subjects or questions. So I'll talk on any subject you want. Ask me a question. 99% of the time, I got most of this on top of my head. It's been a long day, so be a little bit forgiving. Not too much, though. Shouldn't it?
Senator, on the radio show, we talked about this a little bit one of the questions that's come up is about taxation of veterans' benefits here in the state of Virginia. We put a pretty heavy burden on veterans in the state of Virginia. You know, because you pay it, I pay it, Francie pays it, and probably a lot of people in this audience pay it. So this sounds like a pretty good opportunity. It's the facts you sent me was somewhere around $243 to $276 million a year. So there's several proposals out there. The Joint Leadership Council is going to come to you guys later on and talk about it. But as I've been thinking about it, one of the things that we need to try to do is have an incentive program for people to stay initially in the state of Virginia, so that they pay a smaller amount of tax or no tax for the first 5 years, and then they pay a graduated system, and it stops at a certain amount of years. And that's one system that I think we could do. The other way was to talk about the first year, 10% the second year, 20% third year, and so on and so forth. Somebody said 25%, 50%, 75%. I don't know how you're going to work that out, but I think it's important. If the governor says he wants this to be a veterans-friendly state, and every one of these folks you talk to that come on, I've had 2 of them on the radio show, we want to be a veteran-friendly state. Let's start the conversation about how we can do this.
Okay. I will talk to the JLC. We're going back up there. I move up there Saturday, but I'll talk to the JLC on Monday. I'm part of the Veterans Caucus up there. We meet Wednesday mornings. I think it's 8 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. If we do it the same as last year, we normally have. I'll start that conversation and see where we can go from there. But I think it's a great idea. Graduating and moving it in is the appropriate way to do it, in my opinion, at this point. We're also doing, we've got 4 or 5 bills, veteran-friendly bills this year. What I do is where we have anything that says, hey, we have to open this up for this bid process for women, minorities, and then they open it up to 3 or 4 other categories, the SWAM markets. I actually throw in service-disabled veteran-owned businesses as well. I call it hijacking people's bills. Most people are okay with it. Every once in a while I'll get pushback. Most folks are pretty much okay with that. So we'll continue being as veteran-friendly as we can. Any other questions? We gotta have some. Wow, at least one. Okay, start with Reed, then I'll come here, and then back to Laura, and then over this way. Oops, and I'll hit you in the back too.
There are a number of laws in the General Assembly that got passed sort of back in the 60s that were smart and prudent. And over time, changes were made to those laws that made them no longer smart and prudent. One in particular was a law that was written that said the only amount of increase in a person's real estate taxes at the local level, they could only increase at 1% of the assessed value of their home originally. And then a Part B was added to it that said, unless the city council decides to vote to just override the automatically lowered rate, meaning your assessed value on your home went up 10%, but you should only each year suffer a compounded 1% increase. The idea behind it was so people didn't get taxed out of their houses. Because of those changes in the General Assembly, and particularly here in Virginia Beach, many people have really suffered on the real estate taxes on their homes. And in particular, when the market is overinflated but they don't actually sell, they pay thousands of dollars on phantom money that they've never collected, and there's no way to get it back because the city council raises the rate above the automatically lowered rate. I've tried for years to get that fixed because the point behind it was so that people don't get taxed out of their houses, and the city council could count on a normal graduated amount of predictable income rather than the fluctuations on the market. The General Assembly does these kinds of things, but we never seem to be able to get traction to fix them. I go to Richmond, I go to the committee meetings, we lobby the people in this room, we get speakers. Is there a better way? How do we become effective to make some practical changes like that? The process seems broken to people like me.
Okay, let me address the issue. So back when the real estate taxes were pushed down to the localities, they were limited to a 1% increase per year. Then it was changed and said, hey, they can go higher than a 1% increase with hyper or super inflation, but it has to be passed by the majority of those members on city council. I go back to Thomas Jefferson and even Ronald Reagan, who says we govern best at the lowest possible level, closest to the people. The reason this was pushed down to local option was they wanted the locality to have control over that. I truly believe that that's where that needs to be held. If you remember when I was on city council, I never supported a tax increase and actually pushed and gave examples on how not to increase taxes and to find the money they needed. And if I remember, one of them was instead of providing people or providing departments with the 100% of the money for every new hire or every open position, if they held that to just when they hire those individuals, that would generate between $19 and $40 million a year. I was also my last year on council, John Moss and I had the only unanimous budget in over 25 years. And John and I negotiated that with Lewis, Jones, and Will, and then back and forth. But we negotiated that to ensure we had no tax increase and we had a unanimous budget. As far as I know, I'm positive there has not been one since. And there may not be for another 20 years, but we busted our butts to do that. How do we fix it? How do we get heard? These are the formats to be heard. I have an open door policy in my office. Diana, Leslie, you guys know where my office is. We talk all the time in Richmond and here. I have an open door policy. How hard is it to get in to see me?
Not hard.
Yeah, I'm pretty accessible. So just, you've been at my office multiple times, so I'm pretty easy to get a
But
hold
the
of.
point is, we
How do we
rallied
change that?
everybody, and we went through the process, and it didn't make a difference.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But on this one, this is one that we push down to the localities, push it at the lowest level possible. And we have to hold those elected officials at those levels accountable for their actions. But we have to give them the authority to do it as well. I don't want to be the one who goes in and takes that authority back from them, because while I was on city council, I had the ability to change that, to negotiate a position or not. And that's what, as a council member, that's where you held me accountable. So I don't want to be the one to take that away. I push it back to the localities and say, guys, you need to do what we elected you to do, and push it at that level. Sir, then ma'am, then I know we've got some over here and the young lady in the back in the pink and Miss Firestone.
Give me 1 second, Bill. This is live streaming on Facebook, so those folks who are at home, if you have a question for Senator DeSteph, just type it in and I'll feed it to them. This will also be uploaded on YouTube after tonight's meeting.
Joe's the gentleman, thank you.
I have a number of questions I could ask you, but I came for the VDDA issues.
Me too.
But since I have you here, an issue near and dear to my heart, the litter and plastic bags floating around the city and the trees and the sewers, and just about anywhere you go, you can see single-use plastic bags, amongst other litter items, but that's one that just is in my face all the time. I heard on the news today that there are people in the State House that are going to propose bills, senator and a delegate, to stop single-use bags or put a surcharge of 5 cents on bags that are, and I would, with the way the world is, the plastics in our oceans, the harm it does to our environment, to the animals, to the sewer systems, to people clogging up our sewer systems, flooding and such. The environment really needs, from an economic standpoint, you don't want to waste money. We need to protect the planet to save money. So, with that said, I'm wondering what your position would be on passing a bill. I know Jeff McWaters tried to get the balloon banned, which has done a lot of harm, unnecessarily so. So, I know you're on the right side of the conversation.
I use paper bags and I recycle.
Well, paper bags will be 5 cents too, and I recycle as well.
Well, I think Aldi charges you for the bags today, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, 5 cents for paper and plastic. My point is, when you drive out of here today, I promise you, you will start seeing plastic bags everywhere.
Oh, I see them
Because
now.
they are everywhere.
But that's another thing. When I was on city council, I want to say, I gotta go back and look at this. I want to say I introduced an ordinance on that back when I was on city council.
But it doesn't start at the state. You can't, city council can't
Sure
do
they
anything
can.
with cigarettes, butts, or
With
those
cigarette butts,
vanilla-
that's different. With the plastic bags, the localities, and we have stores that have already mandated it within their stores. So the businesses, if they want to do it, and there is a big cost difference between the plastic bags and paper bags and reusable or recyclable bags. There is a cost difference in there. Do we want the government coming in and dictating to our businesses, you will use paper bags, you will use plastic bags, or you will only use recyclable bags? Do we want that? And I will
If
tell
it
you
means
that.
saving the environment, yeah.
All right, so that's you. Does everybody else agree with that here? So-
Okay, then don't complain about
Yeah.
flooding.
So-
Don't complain about the sewers being backed
But
up.
let's get back to the conversation. So on that, what happened was we had a senior here that went around to like 15 grocery stores and stores. She convinced them to either recycle the plastic bags, and you've seen at the old Farm Fresh on Breakneck Road, used to have the bins there, you could put your reusable plastic bags in there. They come in, they bale them up, and they recycle them. They made a ton of money doing that, okay?
Walmart does it too.
Walmart does it as well. There's multiple organizations that do that, but I believe it should be, the environmental conscious effort on that should be up to the business and the establishment. We shouldn't dictate prices to them.
Well, I know that's the conservative, if you would. I know that's your position.
I use paper bags and I use recyclable
Right,
bags.
right. Well, I
But I'm just telling you that that's my position, not the conservative
So
position.
my
That's-
point is,
that's
you would
mine.
not support it in the.
I would push
say
it down
that.
and say it's up to the business or the localities. I would not force that down a business's throat. Sir?
Yeah, Bill, are there any mass transit initiatives that we're not maybe hearing about or that are coming up?
I've not seen any. That doesn't mean there aren't any. I will tell you, I'm on the transportation committee, and 2 years ago, we had a joint transportation committee meeting in Northern Virginia, and we were talking about all the problems with Metro. I said, this is easy, you know, you've got the highest paid union employees out there, New York, San Francisco, all, you know, et cetera, et cetera. As a business guy, I only know things from a business guy, I'm not a really good bureaucrat. I'd go in, I would bankrupt it, I'd hire the same people, renegotiate the contracts the next day, and you would have specific wages for the area. Washington DC employees should not be paid more than San Francisco, New York, Chicago, there's another city too. San Francisco, New York, Chicago, there's another big city on that. I don't remember off the top of my head, and I don't want to guess, but that's what I would do. As far as I know, from a mass transit perspective, there's not anything on the drawing board right now up at our level. Localities, I know that every locality is looking at different options. I'm not familiar with what they're all doing. So with that, I'd like to go to this side of the room, then I'll come back over here. So I'll head Dane and Laura Firestone, the young lady at the back, and then I know there was Ron over here. We'll go in that order, and if you guys could remind me, again, I'm very tired today. Thank you.
Two-part. Any chance that the state will get out of the liquor selling business, and when will marijuana be legalized in Virginia?
So the first one is the state to get out of the liquor business. Probably no time soon. I can't see that happening. We generate an enormous amount of revenue on that, tax revenue, and pays for an enormous amount of resources. Goes into the general fund, and it really does fund a lot of things. Marijuana, medical marijuana is legal today. CBD oil is legal today. Yep. Is marijuana going to be recreationally used? I don't know when that's going to happen. I would say that we'll watch what happens all over the rest, but Virginia's very slow on issues like that. I believe that if you're terminal with cancer, you should have access to medical marijuana all day long, every day. There's a lot of instances that we've seen with epilepsy and other issues that I'm all in. I think that's great. I think medical marijuana is great for them. For my police, my fire, my EMS, no, I don't want them on marijuana. I don't want them on marijuana when they're treating me or my grandparents. I don't want my doctor or my nurse or my physician assistant on marijuana. Sorry, I don't want it. So that's my position. That's my position. I don't think Virginia's going to see legalization, complete legalization, from a recreational standpoint anytime in the near future. So Laura, the young lady in the back, Ron, get less in, and we'll come back to the side of it. Unless I guess somebody else with a hand up.
Senator DeSteph, thank you for joining us, especially on such short notice. I have one question, but first I'd like to add, if it's okay, to what you were saying to the lady up front. I think that for a lot of us who are more liberty-minded, it's a matter of influence versus mandate. And we can trust, I think that those of us who are more liberty-minded trust others to be that we can influence each other and that we are responsible and things like that. So, I don't know if you agree, but my question is, what are some of, aside from what you've mentioned, what are some of the most egregious items that you have found, while going through everything you were talking about earlier? And by what standards do you deem something egregious? Like what makes it jump out at you as so bad?
So I believe you're talking about on the plus-ups, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on the plus-ups, this past year when I went in there and I saw certain organizations in Fairfax or other things that should be, 501c3s, 501c4s, things that I don't believe we should be funding. I don't believe that, I believe that if you have a charity, you should be giving your money to that charity. If you believe that, you should be giving the state's money to that charity. Yeah. So that's one of the big issues. I don't remember the specific names of some of them. I can tell you whose districts, I can tell you what some of the programs were. There was one, it was an education program where I thought it was a great education program for that area, but they wanted to have a falcon come to Virginia Beach and charge like $25,000 every visit for this gentleman just to show a falcon getting a mouse or a rat or whatever. I was like, wait a minute.
We can watch that.
I don't think we need to take somebody from Northern Virginia who's doing this up there for the schools or whatever they're doing, bring them down to Virginia Beach or to Richmond or to 15 other areas throughout the state to show that. I just don't think that's a good idea. And when you tie a large amount of money to it, I think it's even a worse idea. There was an equestrian program in one of the high schools or something that they were putting $150,000, $200,000 into. When I researched it a little bit more, I found out it was a private high school. It was in a specific district for a specific senator and a specific delegate, and it would help them with campaign contributions from those individuals who are the namesakes of the school. So I thought that was a little much, and decided that I was going to challenge something like that. Is that egregious? I don't know. I mean, what's my barometer on it?
Right.
If it doesn't smell right, it doesn't sound right, I ask the questions.
Yeah.
And then, again, 21 pages, single-spaced questions, I ask. There are some issues. I will go through the budget again this year. Hopefully I won't have to stay up all night, and hopefully it will be given to me at 4 o'clock, and we have to discuss and vote on it at 8 a.m. Because I'm cranky, and I'm tired, and I can't put together my sentences as well as I should, be as articulate as I should, when I've had no sleep, and at that time it was 36 hours, 40 hours. I'm just not going to be as articulate. Right. And I am going to be angry, I am going to be grumpy, grouchy, and frustrated.
Yeah.
And when I am, then I get more pointed and less polite. And that was okay when I was in the military. It's not as okay now that I'm representing you good people here.
Thank you.
So young lady in the back in the pink sweater.
Hi, yes, our governor's very eloquently promised us a tax hike, and I'd like to know what that is about and why a tax hike.
I think I walked in, I said, we have a $1.2 billion surplus. His budget he's proposed is $2.4 billion, so twice what the surplus is, which the only way you can get there is a tax hike. And I believe when I talked on Medicaid expansion maybe less than a year ago, we were in session, so February, March timeframe, I talked to all of the groups. I even came here and I said, if we pass Medicaid expansion, be prepared for a significant tax increase in the next 18 to 24 months. It's not been 18 months, it's not been 24 months. We have a shortfall of over, reported shortfall of over $480 million according to the numbers I've seen. I think it's going to be 624 or more, over 600. We'll leave it at that. I didn't vote for the governor. I talked to him, I tried to convince him. He seems to lean one way and I seem to lean another. What he sees as important, I do not see as important. I believe that we need to create an environment for our businesses and families to thrive. I believe you can spend your money better than the government can spend your money. I've always believed that. I think that there are certain things we should handle at the government level. Our special needs children and adults. Those who can't take care of themselves, we should take care of. When we ignore that and expand it for everybody else and not those, I take issue to that. So the governor and I don't always agree on things like this, and that's okay. That's why I have my platform and people vote for me, and that's why he has his platform and people vote for him. And the other side candidates. We'll always disagree on that. But that's kind of where we are. So if you read his budget, the only way we get there is with a tax hike. I'm hoping we don't do a tax hike. I'm hoping we have the votes to push it back. And the only way we get there is having Leslie dance on the sidewalk with campaign signs, doing sign waves, saying, please elect these good people. That's it. That's the only way we get there.
Do you know what's included in his budget?
I have his budget. It's about that thick. I've started going through it. I've sat through the 2.5-hour brief on it. I'm not finished with it. It's going to take me. Yes. Well, it'll be revised when we go up there in session. So there's going to be easily 300 or 400 to 1,000 revisions to it. So what you read today isn't going to be what's there in 45 days. What you read today is not going to be what's there in 30 days. Okay, Ron, Leslie, then back over here, then I'll come back to you, okay?
Yeah, I had the question, similar question about the plastic bag tax. I've seen reports and heard reports that that bill seems to be making its way through, and there are reports that saying it's probably going to go through. One question I have is that where does that money go? And I just came back from New York, and Suffolk County has that tax already. It's 5 cents on plastic bags, and they haven't seen any change in anything. It's been there for about a year. They haven't seen any change in anything. It just ticks people off, and people are not getting bags. They're just taking it out in their carts and all that. Where will that money go? If I'm paying 5 cents for my plastic bag, where's that go?
So I haven't seen the bill yet. When I see the bill, for every revenue stream, we have to show where it's going. So when I do see the bill, I'll be able to tell you where it's going. I don't know who's carrying the bill, or I would Google it real quick, or ask somebody to Google it. I don't know if the bill's been dropped or not. I will tell you in a week, I will probably be able to answer that question. Today, I can't. And I can tell you based on what committee it's going to go in front of. It will go in front of Finance on the House side, the Senate side. It probably will go in front of Finance, may go under Commerce and Labor. I don't know where it's going to go, but I can tell you that I would not support that bill with what I know at this point in time. Until I read it, I truly can't tell you what's in it, and I can't tell you whether I would support it or not. We all know that if you read the title of a bill, sometimes that's not always what it really does. And I know that there's a lot of people in here that we have those conversations. There's one that I used to argue with all the time when she'd come up and just hammer me on something. I'm like, yeah, that's what the title says. That's not what the bill does.
Betsy Carr, District 69, and Senator Adam Eben.
Evan.
Evan. and Delegate Kay Corey.
Chances are that one's not gonna go through. If you give me the bill number or somebody writes it or texts it to me, then I will research it and I'll tell you where the revenue stream will go. Because it's gotta be in the text of the bill, they've gotta discuss it somewhere. So we'll hit Leslie, and then I'll come back to this side of the room. I know maybe we push your hand up. Leslie, over to you.
Hate to harp on this bag.
Harp.
I'm not ecologically, concerned person. I know that you're probably aware that they have now said farmers can grow industrial hemp without the major.
We passed that
This
law
was
in the
last
House 4
year,
years
right,
ago.
and then it became law this past summer, I think.
4 years ago.
Well, whatever, they did something different.
We opened it up so it could be more, it could be a lot wider.
Right, and there's no
Used for
permitting, it's not limited. The thing is with entrepreneurs now is that hemp can be made into plastic bags that degrade. So I would love for you to use that as an opportunity when they do ask us for this fine of 5 cents or whatever they call it, that entrepreneurs will actually make these things that can be degraded and they won't be flying around in the.
I've seen the hemp jackets, I've seen the hemp lotion and the hemp oils, but I'll be honest with you, I don't know the cost per plastic bag of a plastic bag for a bag built out of hemp versus a bag built out of plastic. I know that plastic bags are super, super cheap, and I don't know how expensive hemp bags
Well,
are.
it's still an opportunity to say that something could be used to solve that
Oh,
problem.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the recyclable bags are awesome too.
Well, this would be recyclable.
Bill number 981.
Okay, is it House Bill, that's House Bill 981 or
What is
Senate
that?
Bill? SB or HB? And if somebody who's got my cell phone,
House
could just
Bill
text that to me,
981.
that'd be great. House Bill 981, okay.
HB.
Chances are I won't see that in the Senate except under Adam and Evan, and his bills normally don't get out of committee or subcommittee. Okay, young lady, you had a question?
I just have a quick question. I'm not saying I'm a political newcomer, but I am a civics novice. There are many people who may not be watching currently, but will be in the next few days. For those people that are interested in becoming involved in civics and doing their civic duty locally, I did not know you were a formal council member here. I've actually only lived here since 2013. So quickly, how did you get your start in politics? What motivated you to get into politics? Where did you start, and officially where are you now? And what are your future aspirations?
Okay. So that's a lot.
I said quickly.
So I'll
They only give me 3
condense
minutes
it
in
down.
front of council.
I'll get you less than 3 minutes for the response.
Sweet.
Somebody upset me, and I offered $25,000 to whoever would run against them. I couldn't get anyone to run against them. I said, no, then I'll run myself. I did. Guys like Robert Dean said, hey, stupid, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Here's what you need to do, and here's where you need to focus. I did. Reed Greenman helped guide me. I had probably a dozen people in this room help guide me or made recommendations.
Fortunate man.
I was fortunate enough, knock on wood, that I ran and I worked my butt off and I was elected. And then from there, I got beat up for the next 2 years beyond that. And Reba was like the only one who would help defend me. Then another 2 years without anybody. Then we had a special election. I got John Moss to help. That was fantastic. I continuously used to say, and they would say, you're brand new here. You're supposed to be sitting back, being quiet for your first year. On TV, they would say this, and I said, look, I didn't tell people I was going to sit back and do nothing, put my feet up on the desk. I said I was going to roll up my sleeves and get to work, and it's okay that I upset people.
You came in like a wrecking ball.
I came in like I said I was going to.
Good.
I was going to challenge people, ask questions, make a difference.
Let's.
So after that, Bob Perkey, I'm going to finish the story, then I'll
Sorry.
let you. So Bob Perkey, who was my predecessor in the House, decided he was going to step down. I decided I would give it a shot and run for the House of Delegates. I did. I was fortunate enough to get elected. Keep in mind, I got elected to City Council before that, a second term. Fortunate, very fortunate, because a lot of people spent a lot of money against me. If I'm not mistaken, it was about $750,000 against me that year.
Sounds like a council race.
So 2 years in the House, Senator Jeff Waters steps down. We have the discussion amongst caucus, who's going to run. I get some close friends from this room. And I said, guys, will you support me if I do this? What are your thoughts? What do you think? Everybody, I had one person tell me not that they would not support me if I ran. They told me they wouldn't support me if I ran for dog catcher.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Mom. No. I'm just teasing.
Less popular among the conservative groups is the ERA. How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about the ERA?
General Assembly opens on the 9th, so.
I am going to support the ERA. I've
Thank
always
you so
supported
much.
the ERA.
That's awesome.
I will
Get that,
continue to
Robert.
support the ERA. The only time I was on the board for not supporting the ERA, Bryce Reeves was on this board for supporting the ERA.
I'll find it.
He had my proxy. He voted me one way and him the wrong way. So
Who
he
was that?
voted me wrong and himself wrong. That was 2016, if I'm not mistaken.
Reeves?
Yeah, Senator Bryce Reeves had my proxy. Bryce is one of my best friends up there.
Okay.
And I have his proxy. He messed up and switched the vote, and that's okay. I was in a local government's meeting voting on other issues, and I think I was vice chairman, so I was either running the meeting or something like that. So, yeah, we have overlapping meetings up there, so we have to give our proxy to another member,
Okay.
and we give him how we want to vote on things. On that one, to be honest, he looked at the wrong sheets and hit the wrong buttons. It happens. I've messed up once before, and I've gone back and corrected it.
Cool.
On that one, I didn't pick up on it until the next day, until somebody sent something saying, hey, what are you doing? You know, you've always supported the ERA. What do you think? I'm like, I do support it. What do you mean? They're saying, you voted this way. I said, Bryce had my proxy. You know,
So is he the
had
dog
never.
catcher now?
Huh?
Is he the dog catcher now?
No, he's a friend. He's a senator from Fredericksburg.
Thank you.
Great guy. Now, there was another young lady, I think that was over here, who wanted to add a question, correct?
Yes,
And then I'll come back to the side.
since if we don't itemize on the federal, we can't itemize on state.
Correct.
We're getting a tax hike anyway, aren't we?
If you don't itemize on the federal, so you don't take advantage of the Trump tax cut. No, wait a minute. If you don't itemize on the federal, you are taking advantage of the tax cut.
Right.
We have to address that now, because here's why. If you itemize on the federal, you have to itemize on the state and vice versa. We're not structured to audit federal returns. We don't have enough people in tax to audit federal returns. So I believe what's going to happen is we're going to increase that to match or come close to matching the federal. So if you don't itemize on the federal, you get that earned income tax credit, the higher, not earned income tax credit, the higher standard exemption, you get the higher standard exemption. So you will get, in essence, a little bit more money back without having to itemize. But today, I will tell you, based on it, you could, you're not supposed to, but you could itemize at the state level and not itemize at the federal level. We've got to address this. I actually pushed this thing in December, January of last year. So it's a policy decision we've got to make, we've got to fix it, or we're going to have a mess on our hands. And we're not structured to audit federal tax returns. We follow what the federal tax return is, and then on the state side, we kind of roll from there. But in a quick answer, that's kind of how it works. I don't know how we're going to resolve that. I know the governor how he wants to resolve it, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think we will increase our standardized deduction to match the federal or come close to matching the federal. So, now I know there's somebody else on this side, and then I'm looking for any other questions. Great.
I have another one. Since the meeting tonight was supposed to be about the Development Authority, I've been following the Virginia Beach Development Authority for a few decades, as have you. The General Assembly created an overlay political subdivision, and it's really a debt laundering function. In the General Assembly, you guys wisely passed a bill that said for general revenue bonds exceeding $10 million, it has to go out to us for approval for that debt in the form of a referendum. But then the General Assembly created the Development Authority without any regards or limitations like that, asking us, are we responsible, could we approve that debt? So the City Council turns around, as you know, and says, oh, well, all right, we're gonna give you this land that we bought, and then you can leverage against that, and then we're gonna guarantee this loan, and then when the development authority can't pay it back, they just vote to forgive them that debt, which we then pay, we the Virginia Beach taxpayers. That development authority is not elected, it's all appointed. In some cases, nepotism runs rampant. And it's unnecessary because its function is what the city council ought to be doing. The General Assembly is our state level government, and the local government we elect is our local government, and our school board elected for our school. How would you support eliminating and abolishing the development authority and restoring that power and responsibility to the local elected government who we elect and are accountable to us?
I used to know all the details of this. I honestly don't right now. I can't remember everything on it. If I remember correctly, the development authority is appointed by city council. There's 2 members who are liaisons and an alternate to the development authority. So you have elected officials on there that are making recommendations and voting on the development authority, correct? Again, it's been a while. This is 5 years plus ago, 6 years plus ago that I did this. So you have elected representatives there.
But they don't carry the majority.
Okay, but they bring back to city council a recommendation, and they can influence city council as the liaison to those that development authority. So the 2 ways to handle this: just abolish all development authorities and throw them all away. The second way to do it would be if the development authority is going to issue any bonds over $10 million to match what is in the rest of code, so they would have to go through city council for approval or out to referendum for approval. So I honestly would have to read the charter of the development authority, charter of the city in that section of code. I think it would be easier and probably, right now, without reading it and remembering everything, I would probably say a better solution would be match what the cities have to do when they do a over $10 million bond and make the development authority do the exact same thing.
Except it's a form of taxation without representation because the
You have
majority are not elected.
You have representation, you have 2 elected members.
But they're not the majority body.
I understand they're not the majority, but the development authority, their recommendations have to be approved by city council. I believe, again, it's been 6 years, but I believe that the development authority makes a recommendation and city council approves or disapproves the recommendations. It's been 6 years, so this is one that we'll have to research. If I'm wrong on this, Reed, let's research this and figure out if I'm right or wrong.
Let's stop
And
the
then let's
gas
take
pipe.
it to the next step. The smarter thing may be saying that if we were going to issue $10 million worth of bonds, either out of the city or the development authority, or any other authority under the city's control or creation, then they have to go out to referendum, or they have to go out to the citizens. It should be consistent across any authority the city has.
It's just, and I don't want to debate, I'm just saying it seems redundant to me. It's a direct political overlay that matches exactly the boundaries of the city of Virginia Beach, and we have an elected local government. But then the General Assembly created a redundant level of decision-making. It just seemed odd.
Well, it's an authority to look at and make recommendations, but I'll be honest with you, I'm going to have to read the charter of the development authority. And then let's readdress, let's not give up on this, let's readdress it, and then figure out the best solution to solve it. And I'm good with that, and I'm happy to write the bill, carry the bill, push the bill. I just want to, this isn't one that I've kind of put in the forefront.
I'll tell you what, I'll put all this stuff together for you.
Perfect.
And you can have it, and we'll just go.
Yeah, let's sit down and discuss it. Let's sit down and go through it. You know me, and I'm gonna go through it.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't know enough to go more on that.
Okay, Teresa, you'll have to be the last question.
Okay, I think when you look through it, that you also look at where these decisions are made, where are these contracts for, what developers are getting favors, things like that, because what he's saying is we are not having representation, that we are back in the corner, much like they were in the 1700s when people were back in, they couldn't sell their tea, they couldn't do this, so This is definitely taxation without representation, that's what we're saying.
Okay, but you do have a council representative, you have two council
But they're not
representatives.
representing us.
Again, then vote against it.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree, but you've got to go back and look at the underlying logic behind the creation of this. And you also have to look at, is there an elected official that is representative on that? Mike was the representative for a year on SIPSA. The problem, I cracked down on SIPSA because they had all these illegal meetings. And I kept coming back to the city council. I recommend against this. Mike Barrett would make one recommendation. I'd say, no, I disagree with him, and here's why. They have illegal meetings on this. It's this, and this. You're not getting the full story on this. It's going to cost us this much money. I went through and done it, and I provided that back as the council liaison, as the elected official. And I swayed council's decision on the SIPSA and what we did with SIPSA. Again, the council reps who are on the development authority, and I believe there's two, and I believe there's a third as an alternate, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% positive, but it's been 6 years. You have that representation. You may not agree with them, but they are there. And then council can also appoint someone else to it. And council, I believe, I have to go look at it. I think council has to approve the stuff the development authority approves, but I'm not positive.
It does.
It does? Okay. Again, I'm at the state level. I'm not really focused on the city council stuff for 6 years. So what I can answer is just out of memory and all of it.
Let's thank Senator DeSteph.
Drive carefully. I'm going to try to.
Get some rest.
I will. I'm going to bed after I grab some food.
Okay. If anybody would like to help read bills, to help Senator DeSteph, there are those of us that do that. We read bills, and it's called the COLA team. It was in our last newsletter, so let me know if you're interested in doing that.